My name's Aaron. Welcome back to my channel. How are you? I'm fantastic and I'm doing really well. And today I am reviewing the Robot Intense Eau de Parfum. This is £75 for 50ml, £105 for 100ml, and if you love it, it's £123 for 150ml. So top notes are frosted orange blossom, lemon, cardamom oil. The heart notes are lavender oil, clary sage oil, rum absolute. The base notes are vanilla bean, cedarwood oil, modern moss. Do we have our bottles of the Robot Intense? Are we engaged with our higher self? Let's get testing. Feels nice and weighty. What am I expecting? Syrupy, sweet, intense, majority of aroma chemicals and a few naturals sort of, around the base. I'm expecting for this and for the design, sweetness, just sweet. So a lot of that and not very balanced. I'm finding these robots aren't very balanced. And I always think when you have something sweet, even if you're pushing the sweet levels, it needs to sort of be balanced with other things. It can't just be sweetness and white floral notes. I know this has been designed by AI, but I would love to see it a bit more balanced. For me, it didn't feel balanced. It didn't have that refinement. Even with these fun ones, and these are really fun, you still want balance, you still want refinement. It can't just be sweet. Saccharine sweet, vomit-inducing chemical sludge. It can't be all of that stuff. Let's look at the glorious atomizer. This is like brand new, so it's not even been primed. Oh dear. I knew it was going to do that. It's quite nice. I've got to say, it's a little bit smoother. And the others which I've reviewed, that sort of smoothness wasn't within the formula. This brand is, I think, indicative with sort of insane sort of projection and sort of sweetness and long lasting. It's quite nice. It's got like a sweet freshness to it. The orange blossoms are orange crystals and benzyl salicylate and cis-3 hexanyl salicylate. So they are utilizing a lot of accords, and this really is like somebody very skilled in accord making has been working on this. In my opinion, for however much this fragrance was, you wouldn't be putting neroli in. It's quite an extravagant raw material. Myrrh is another one which is an extravagant raw material and can only be harvested at specific times. So I think, in my opinion, that this company is utilizing a lot of accord making. You can sort of smell the amber notes, you can sort of smell these like animal notes, but it's very light and not particularly musk heavy, which is fine because there's other ways to do sort of smoothing or giving a clean finish. I would have thought this formula would have been musk heavy. Fragrance is based upon ISO Super. It absolutely would have. It wouldn't be heady on base at all. It wouldn't work in this formula. You kind of want that wood amber feel. Vanillin, C18, ethyl maltol, and definitely not whipping through the base, definitely quite high up. And the vanillin and ethyl maltol, they are solid at room temperature. Vanillin is like powdery, and it's sort of slightly yellow, and ethyl vanillin is white. Ethyl maltol, I have noticed, is slightly pink, but sometimes I get it where it's from the same supplier. Sometimes I get it and it's slightly whiter, sometimes pink, but the smell's the same. So it's like different sometimes in color, but it smells the same and does the same. You always have to do quality control checks, so it is definitely the same. It works the same, all the rest of it. But they're quite powders in a formula. Can give a fixative effect. Vanillin absolutely can give a fixative effect. And some of the lily of the valley raw materials can give a fixative effect as well. And that's all down to viscosity, which is the thickness and flow of raw materials. And chemicals and everything has a viscosity. If it flows, so if it's solid or it flows, how it flows is down to viscosity. And that will affect the longevity and will affect the how the performance of the fragrance is. So really part of Perfumer is understanding viscosity and understanding chemistry, as well as organic chemistry, really understanding thickness and flow and how they interact and kind of what happens when you mix together a powder with a semi-solid or a solid, or how does that affect the projection? How does that affect the longevity? Sometimes it can flatten it down. Sometimes it can, act weird. Some aroma chemicals can act weirdly together. And I think when you're dealing with this sort of fragrance, which is a lot of accords in there, you have to have someone really skilled, because it's much easier working with a lot of like naturals. It's kind of a lot more easier because you're less dependent on a lot of aroma chemicals. The naturals in theirs aren't, it's not me criticizing, but I love naturals. Naturals are my most favorite part of perfumery. It's what the reason why I really fell in love with perfumery, and the reason my first sort of real brain tingling thing was smelling jasmine. I remember that very, very well. And I love rose, and I love sort of exotic raw materials. I've been working with tuberose and different. I understand the quality of the grade, and the expense of that as well. So naturals to me personally are really important, and I think it's really lovely working with these exquisite raw materials and fractions. But there is definitely a difference in, the cedarwood and patchouli and lemon, and this is okay. It's kind of okay. But I'm going to say, for if you have a budget, for thousands of staff to pay, you're not going to reach for this and you're not going to reach for that, because you simply cannot. But I think it's done really well. I think it smells exactly in keeping with the brand. I think it's the best one out of the three, actually, because it's smoother. It's a lot smoother. It feels less jarring. That's kind of how I'm sort of feeling. Onto my final thoughts. So I'm going to summarize this fragrance as based upon Isu Super Vanillin Ethyl Maltol C18, which is kind of like, I just had to remind myself, peachy, coconutty, and C14 is quite sweeter, but C18 sort of giving that coconut sort of vibe, giving you a tropical feel. This is more sort of tropical and sweet. A few naturals, a few little clean white musk, and Lily of the Valley raw materials to give that white floral notes. Tiny bit of cologne in it to give it a little bit of freshness, and fruit raw materials. So I'm thinking in my head, do I like it? Because I kind of think these very sweet fragrances they have an addictive quality. I've mentioned numerous amounts of times that sort of vanillin, ethyl maltol, C18, C14, gamma galactone, heliotropin. All of these things are just really delicious smelling. So you do have that sort of endorphin hit. But I think when it's a lot of aroma chemicals and not very much naturals, you're missing out on something, and it smells to me just overly sweet. It doesn't smell particularly refined. It's very pleasant. The vanillin is I quite like the vanillin and C18, but that and the heliotropin and other fruit molecules, I like some aspects of it, but other aspects really not reaching the higher echelons of perfumery fruit. But I don't think it's kidding anyone that it's doing that. I think it's just young, fun robot. It's not particularly radiant. I think it's okay. I might go 7 out of 10. I think it's okay. It's the best one out of the three because I like the smoothness. But there is that sort of aroma chemical sort of punch that you're kind of getting, which isn't particularly, it's not really giving it to me, and it smells incredibly artificial. But there's a time and a place for all this. I won't throw it in the basura, Tell you what I do like. I think the bottle's fun. That's kind of what I do like. It's fun. It's all right. I don't think they're kidding anyone with this that's trying to be, professional, sort of this, that, and the other. I think it's just a fun fragrance, and, this little robot's all right. So if you love that review, thumbs up and subscribe for more fascinating, interesting content. Lots of moving hands and lots of fragrance views. Hope you're staying safe and well. See you soon.